Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your questions, your sources, the articles, the research, even your own notes, and really we'll dive deep. We pull out the key insights, the surprising bits, and today we're tackling something really important. It affects so many families, thousands every year, but it often stays in the shadows. We're talking about soft kidnapping. Some sources even call it an epidemic. Our mission, to uncover the truth here, understand the challenges, the complexities, and really stress why awareness and, frankly, prevention are so vital. And it was you, our listener, who sent in all the sources for this deep dive. Now, before we really unpack this, if you're looking for more great info like what we're doing today, definitely check out Mind Expansion Daily. And while you're at it, please hit like and subscribe to Mind Expansion Daily wherever you're listening. It genuinely helps us get this knowledge out there. Seriously, if you find this valuable, maybe consider buying us a coffee. The link's right there in the description. Helps us keep the lights on.
It's definitely a heavy topic, but so important to discuss. I'm glad we're looking at these sources today. They really shed light on something that impacts a huge number of families. And like you said, a lot of these cases, tragically, they go unreported or they never get resolved. We need this conversation.
Okay, so let's get into it. When most people hear kidnapping, you immediately think, right, stranger danger, like movie plot stuff. But these sources, they talk about soft kidnapping. What exactly is that? How is it different from, the usual idea?
Yeah, that's really the key distinction. Soft kidnapping, you'll also hear it called parental kidnapping or family abduction. It's essentially the unlawful removal or concealment of a child. It's done by a family member, usually a parent, and it's in direct violation of a custody agreement or court order. And what's really insightful here is how different it is from that stranger abduction idea. These don't usually start with violence or a threat from outside. They often spring from really intense family disputes, custody battles mostly. The person taking the child isn't some random stranger. It's someone the child knows, trusts, loves even. And that relationship, it just changes everything. The emotional impact on the child, obviously, but also how law enforcement might initially see it. It can sometimes be harder to recognize as a crime right away because of that family connection.
That makes a lot of sense. But the name, soft, it sounds, softer, less serious. I'm guessing the reality isn't soft at all.
Not at all. No, the term soft is, frankly, incredibly misleading. The consequences are anything but mild. I mean, the sources point to staggering numbers. Over 200,000 children affected every single year just in the U.S.
Wow. 200,000?
Yeah. It makes up a huge chunk of all reported child kidnappings. And look, the parent taking the child might genuinely believe they're doing the right thing, protecting the child, giving them a better life, whatever their justification is. But make no mistake, it is a criminal act, punishable by law. It shatters a child's stability, can blow up into these really messy international cases, and almost always involves deception, hiding the child, changing names, sometimes for years.
Okay, so it's a massive issue happening within families, which leads to the big question, why? What pushes a parent or another family member to do something so extreme? What are the root causes here?
Well, digging into the sources, the biggest trigger, overwhelmingly, seems to be these really high conflict custody battles. You often have a parent who feels completely wronged by the court system. Maybe they think it was biased, unfair. They feel like they've run out of options legally.
Right, that sense of injustice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then there are other drivers, too, just fundamental disagreements about custody, or a real fear of losing their rights as a parent completely. And sometimes, sadly, it's about revenge, using the child against the other parent.
God, that's awful.
It is. And emotionally, you've got this potent mix of anger, resentment, sheer desperation, especially right after a messy divorce. It's volatile. The sources also mention cases where the parent thinks the child isn't safe with the other parent. Sometimes those fears are real, sometimes they're perceived. It doesn't justify abduction, but it's part of the why sometimes.
And systemic issues play a role too.
Oh, definitely. Things like inconsistent enforcement of custody laws. Sometimes monitoring just isn't adequate. And people exploiting differences between states or even countries, believing they can just disappear across a border. Plus, you layer on things like money problems, substance abuse, mental health struggles. It can push someone who's already desperate right over the edge.
Okay, so these pressures lead to just heartbreaking situations. What are the real dangers, especially for the kids stuck in this? What did the sources say about the impact, beyond just being taken away?
Oh, the challenges are. They're immense.
Yeah.
And really layered. For the child, what's so damaging, so insightful from the research is how that trust, that bond with the parent gets twisted. It becomes part of the trauma itself. Unlike a stranger abduction, here the child is often manipulated, forced into a new life, a new name sometimes, told to lie about who they are, where they came from.
Creating this huge conflict for them.
A massive loyalty conflict, and this deep sense of betrayal that can honestly take decades to even start unpacking. We're talking severe emotional trauma, feelings of abandonment, total confusion, deep insecurity. Long-term, this can manifest as anxiety, depression, major trust issues. The sources point to behavioral changes too, mood swings, aggression, problems forming healthy relationships later on.
And if they are found, recovery isn't simple.
Far from it. Reintegration is incredibly tough. They're grappling with these conflicting feelings, maybe love for the abductor alongside the trauma. Plus, the emotional scars run deep. And for the parent left behind, it's unimaginable grief, plus this nightmare of navigating complex, often slow-moving legal systems just to find their child. It's exhausting.
And it ripples outwards, doesn't it, beyond the family?
Absolutely. Societally, it can damage trust in the justice system. It amps up parental anxiety everywhere, creates this background hum of insecurity. And legally, when borders get crossed state lines, international borders, it gets incredibly complicated. Jurisdictional nightmares. That's how kids can stay hidden for years.
And the resource strain must be huge.
It is. The sources mention family abductions are a huge part of that shocking number. Roughly 460,000 kids reported missing each year in the U.S. That puts immense pressure on groups like NCMSC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Now, they do amazing work. NCMEC helped recover lots of kids in 2024 and brought back, I think it was 218 internationally that same year.
That's incredible.
It is, but so many cases just drag on because some countries don't cooperate fully or simply because finding them is so hard.
Right. To really grasp the cunning involved and just how complex this gets, maybe we should look at some specific cases from the sources. These stories really drive home the human cost.
Yeah, the real stories are powerful. They make it concrete. There's the case of Marvin L. Maple. He abducted his own grandchildren back in 1989. And what's just chilling is he raised them under fake names, completely different identities, for almost 20 years. They weren't found until 2009.
20 years.
Imagine. These kids grew up not knowing who they really were. When the truth came out, they faced this enormous identity crisis. Their whole reality just shattered.
Unbelievable.
Then there's another case the sources mention, a mother who took her two kids, called it an unauthorized road trip. It took months and a nationwide search to find them in another state, and all that time the father was just living in agony, pure uncertainty.
That waiting, not knowing.
Exactly. It wasn't a situation of, oh, well, at least they're with their mom. For him, it was torture. It really shows the toll on the parent left behind. That limbo is unbearable.
And the Julian Hernandez case, that one sounds like it had extra layers of complexity.
It did. Julian was taken by his father in 2002. He was only 5. They found him in 2015 living under a completely different name. And the reunion was described as, well, bittersweet because Julian had bonded with his dad, the abductor. He loved him. Yeah. And that's a really common, really painful outcome in these cases. The child develops affection, dependency, even love for the person who took them. It makes recovery, healing, reintegration incredibly complicated, full of conflicting loyalties.
So these examples, they really show why this isn't just some minor domestic issue.
Precisely. It underscores exactly why agencies like the FBI treat parental kidnapping as a serious priority. It often takes major coordination across different states, sometimes different countries, to resolve these. It's serious criminal activity.
Okay, so it's definitely a crime, not just a dispute gone wrong. What are the actual legal consequences for someone who does this? And what laws are supposed to stop it?
Yeah, critical point. It is a crime, and the legal system treats it seriously, increasingly so. In most states, it's classed as custodial interference. Sometimes it's a felony. Penalties can include real jail time, up to 2 years, as an uncommon hefty fines, maybe up to $10,000, and crucially, potentially losing custody rights permanently.
So there are teeth in the laws.
There are. And federally, you have the Parental Kidnapping Prevention Act, the PKPA. That's designed to stop parents from forum shopping, basically, running to another state, hoping for a better custody outcome. The PKPA says states have to respect the custody orders from other states, give them full faith and credit, is the legal term.
But you mentioned people still exploit loopholes.
They do. The sources highlight that determined abductors can still try to play the system, maybe move quickly to a state known for slower initial enforcement, turning it into a long, expensive, state-by-state legal fight for the parent left behind. The PKPA helps, but it's not foolproof.
Got it. And other legal impacts.
Well, yeah. A conviction can mean losing visitation rights forever. And there can be civil lawsuits, too. The parent left behind might sue for damages, the emotional cost, the financial cost of searching.
And internationally.
Hmm.
You mentioned the Hague Convention.
Right. The Hague Convention on the Civil Aspects of International Child Abduction. It's the main international agreement for getting kids returned when they've been taken across borders. It's vital. But, and this is a big but, the sources are clear. How well countries actually comply with the Hague varies a lot.
Oh.
Some countries might lack the resources or the political will, or their own legal traditions might clash with it. So getting a child back internationally, even with the Hague, can still be a really tough, frustrating battle.
Okay, so given how devastating this all is, especially for the kids, what can actually be done? What kind of solutions or preventative steps do our sources point to?
Well, tackling this really needs action on multiple fronts. It starts with awareness, definitely. Education is huge, making sure parents, teachers, even doctors know the warning signs. Things like direct threats to take the child and run, suddenly applying for passports out of the blue, weird financial stuff like emptying bank accounts.
Being vigilant for those red flags.
Exactly. And then using the courts proactively, getting abduction prevention measures put into custody orders. Things like supervised visits, maybe restrictions on travel. Courts can order one parent to hold the passport, for instance, or require written consent from both parents for any international travel.
Practical steps.
Very practical. And working closely with law enforcement is key, making sure they're looped in early if there's a risk. There are also specific programs parents can use, like the Children's Passport Issuance Alert Program. It flags passport applications for kids deemed at risk, which can stop an international abduction before it happens.
That's good to know.
Yeah. And community awareness campaigns help too. Just making the public more aware, more likely to notice if something seems off. Legally, there's something called the Uniform Child Abduction Prevention Act. It gives courts more power to put safeguards in place in high-risk cases before an abduction occurs. Another layer of protection.
So, wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway? This deep dive, it really shines a light on some serious vulnerabilities, doesn't it? In families, but also in our legal systems. It's pretty sobering. A crisis that maybe doesn't grab headlines every day, but is ruining countless lives.
It really does raise a fundamental question for all of us, I think. Knowing about this is one thing, but knowledge is best when we use it, right? By actually raising awareness, pushing for stronger enforcement, and maybe most importantly, finding better ways to communicate and resolve conflicts in custody situations. That's how we can start building safer spaces for kids, prevent this kind of trauma. There's always more work to do.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder that staying informed, even on really tough subjects like this, matters. And here's something to think about as we finish. Consider that journey of reintegration. For a child who is recovered after a soft kidnapping, think about the emotional scars, the long, complex road to healing, maybe spanning decades. What role do you think we, as a society, play in supporting that recovery? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really do value your input. So here's the challenge. Drop a comment below. Do you agree with our summary? Disagree? Let us know. And hey, we're trying to reach listeners everywhere, so tell us where you're tuning in from. Pop your location in the comments. And please, don't forget to check out Mind Expansion Daily for more discussions like this. Like, subscribe, and if you got something out of this, maybe buy us that coffee. Links in the description. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those important questions.